Welcome to the Village Green NBTV show on the environment. I'm Nancy Gardner, your host. And today we have sort of an odd combination. One of the things that I've always been interested in is not wasting things. I really love to be able to reuse things, and one of the best examples of that is compost. And we're going to visit Barbara Shelton, who does an easier version of it than some and still gets a good product. But at the same time, we're back in lockdown. Sigh, I know we're all getting really weary. And thought we'd go into some areas that maybe you're not quite aware of, a new place to visit with the kids because they're bored with where you've been taking them, or just new places for you to walk and exercise the dog. Well, I'm here with Barbara Shelton. Barbara, we've been here before.
Yes.
But one of the things I want to talk about today in particular is composting. Now, I remember when you and I were on EQUAC, we went to the master composter. And that was a field trip, a grown-up field trip.
Yes.
And I remember he had all these bins around his yard, and he had the thermometers and everything, and I went, it was too precise for me.
Yes.
I'm hoping that your composting is a little more casual. So tell us what you do, because you've got a lot of garden here and everything. What is your process?
Well, again, the ideal is to have the 3 bins, but I chose to not do that because it's a lot more work, and it takes, I think, a really strong person to move the compost from one bin to the next bin to the next bin until it's ready, which I did at the last house. So I've moved to a more simple way, which is called anaerobic composting, which is a 1 container, and you don't have to toss it. You build it up 3 feet with dry and like carbon and nitrogen.
All right, so let's start right there.
Okay.
Because I think a lot of people just say, oh, I'm just going to throw some leaves over here in a pile and it'll compost, which obviously in a forest it eventually will. But you said dry, wet, dry, wet. So
Yes.
explain that a little bit more.
Well, you have to have an equal amount of dry and wet, or carbon and nitrogen, to have the compost heat up enough to work to break it down into soil.
So what would be an example of dry would be, say, dead leaves?
Dead leaves, straw, anything you can see on the ground that is dead, you can put it in.
Okay, and wet?
Wet, I bring in things from the house after I've fixed vegetables. Grass can be used.
All right, vegetable peelings, grass, rinds of oranges and stuff like that.
No meat, that would attract the animals and it doesn't break down. And actually you shouldn't use leftover vegetables if you've cooked them for the night.
Okay.
And they've been cooked, that won't work.
Okay.
So it's got to be the dry vegetables when you're cooking.
So now, do you keep something on your counter? Because I
Yes.
see those advertised sometimes. So
I
you
do.
keep something on your counter.
I do.
And just put all your peelings and things in there, and then every so often you bring it out.
I do with this one. You want to start off with probably 3 feet to layer it, to get the heat build up. And then you can just put it in as you want, toss it when you want. My compost takes a year to work because I don't toss it regularly every day.
Okay, so let's talk about the tossing. Again, I think I have a thing, I put it in and I ignore it, and nothing seems to happen.
Yes.
So when you say toss, you really get down there? Is that the point? And really
You
try
just
to...
pitchfork and you can just stir it around. And then you can add more and build up. Actually, mine goes for a whole year before it's ready. It's ready now. I will put it in the garden, and I'm now getting the leaves dropping from the tree. Things are going out in the fall that I can use as my carbon. And then I build it up again, and then all during the year, I add whatever I want and stir it, and miraculously it happens.
Well, if you're using a lot, as you say, a lot of the dry, the dead things, then that must save you in terms of what you put in the trash as well. If it's going into your compost bin, you're not putting as much green waste out.
Yeah, that's true. Not as much in the trash. Because you can use so much from your own garden and from your kitchen that can be used for composting.
Okay, well, I know that it's pretty close quarters, so I'm going to let you go over with Ed and look at the compost bin a little more carefully. So this is specially designed, but you could use almost anything as far as a bin. Could you use a trash can, a big trash can?
People have actually used wire in a circle.
Okay.
Now, if you do that, you want to put something over the top to keep the heat down. But that can be used, a trash can that you can get from the city, usually, and that can work. I've had this for a long time, and this is what I use, and has a top to it because you do want a top to keep the heat. And I'm starting to collect my dry leaves now.
And so it comes out, what do you tip it over, or what happens when you're ready?
No, I just use the pitchfork and turn it. Now when I'm ready to take it out, I bring in my wheelbarrow.
Okay.
And I have a screen that I use to sift. And so I sift out the dirt that's ready, or the soil, and anything that was too big that didn't break down, then I leave it back in to start another year.
Okay. So that's the simpler way of composting.
Yes.
And what you get, how much do you get? Do you get enough, like one bag from the nursery, or do you get quite two bags? What do you think?
I'd probably get maybe 1.5 bags.
Do you find it any better than than the commercial grade?
Well, you know, I don't chemically test it, so, and I don't test theirs. Sometimes you don't know what they've used actually. They've picked up some pesticides or something that's not pure for the garden. So at least I know what's in here.
Yeah, I got some last year from the nursery, and it had grubs in it.
Boy, that's a mess.
Big grubs. I mean, it
yes.
just. After I got rid of them, I thought I should have learned how to cook them. All right, while we're here, let's look at some other parts of your garden, because it's always so interesting. Now, we got some seasonal things going here. Are these sweet peas?
They are.
Are they the ones that have the wonderful perfume? I love sweet peas because some of them smell so
no,
good.
these are sugar snaps.
Oh, sugar snaps. All right, so these are vegetables.
These are vegetables.
All right, and they are autumn, plant them in autumn, and then they're ready in the spring or the winter?
They're probably winter. It depends. Our weather's so strange. It's still so warm that...
Now you've got, what, 3 plants in each one? And that will give you a pretty good crop?
Usually, and I have enough to give away.
Oh, well, that's great.
So,
what is this little interesting plant here, this low one?
That's a new one. It's a cabbage. Oh. And I've never tried that before, and I can't believe it's really a cabbage, but they claim it is. I get some of these from Rogers. And it's quite good. I use it sort of like a spinach.
Oh, okay. You just pick off leaves for a certain amount of leaves and cook it?
For dinner.
And what's that, the big broadleaved?
This is a broccoli.
Okay.
It hasn't started to come out with its flowers yet, so it's early for it. And actually, you could eat those leaves too.
And I think this is a wonderful example of not having a lot of space. I mean, you've got a lot of space, but if you didn't have a lot of space, making what is almost a wall, you could have a little wall in your garden, but open it up like that, and you've got all sorts of room for vegetables.
Yes.
And then you've got a raised section over here.
I did this because I have raccoon problems and rat problems.
Yes.
And squirrel problems.
Yes. Oh, you have finally. The squirrels found you.
You sent them over here, I think.
Got this? All right, so we've got lettuce, which of course is a wonderful cool weather thing. And what else do we have here?
I have some kale, which is the ruffle leaf.
Kale,
and then some chard, which is in here.
All right, and the wide leaves are?
Those, again, more the broccoli.
Oh.
I put a few in different places, just in case I get eaten over here. Then I've got something right there. And if it gets too hot, I've got this screen I put over the top to keep it from getting too hot.
And you've got some
mandarin oranges.
And
the apples, but it's finished with the crop this year.
Yeah.
And what else? Some oranges, navel oranges.
I'm going to look over here. This is
Kumquat.
Yeah, kumquat.
So you're, for an area called Orange County, we have a lot of citrus, but citrus isn't. I mean, it has a lot of pests and things. Do you find ants a problem with yours?
I do. Yes.
They bring all sorts of stuff. But yours looks so healthy. I love how deep green. You give them a lot of iron or what?
Actually, I have a sort of a fertilizer stake that I pound in.
Oh, okay. I've used those.
I didn't used to use those, but when you're a single person, you have to use things that are a lot easier than when
you have honey.
A male help.
Well, this is
and
lovely.
And then lemon.
Lemon. Yeah, I mean, your citrus, as I say, it's so healthy. What kind of lemon tree is it?
I
don't think it's a Meyer.
It's a thin-skinned, and I've forgotten its name.
Okay.
But
and then the rest of it is, you've got some fruit trees up here?
Yes, I have an olive that I just planted, a transplant just this last year.
Uh-huh.
And then what's it called? It's a combination of loquat and kumquat. It's called a loquat. And it's a hybrid of two different trees.
Oh, okay.
And then I have another avocado that I just put in, a Hass. And it has 2 on it for this year, but
Well, I think that's this is just to me such a remarkable garden because one, you've done so much with the natives.
mm-hmm.
But yet you've also got this wonderful other garden, this productive garden with the vegetables and the fruit and everything, which shows you can have both.
You can.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. All right, so if you want to compost, dry, wet, dry, toss it occasionally. Be
3
sure you have a
feet.
lid on or something to keep the heat in. And in a year, you will have compost.
I will have compost.
Well, that's great. All right.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Welcome.
Grant Howald Park isn't very big, but it has some wonderful amenities. Now, its location is in Crown MR, and it's just right by the Oasis Senior Center, so it's easy to find. But it has a children's play area, which is being renovated right now. It's next to a community center. There is a soccer field as well as tennis courts. But there's also a large grassy area, and then behind me, there's quite a ways to walk. Wonderful place to walk your dog because you can go off the pavement there, and it's all sorts of trees and brush, and you get the squirrels and some of the little rabbits, so they're wonderful things for the dog to smell. And there's easy parking in the Oasis parking lot, along the street, or also along, I guess it's 5th Avenue there. So this is not a lot of people know about it, but this is a really nice place, particularly if you're not wanting tons of exercise. This is not a place where you want to run. There's not miles and miles of it, but nice for picnics, nice place for children to play because you can get them where there are no cars, no immediate streets adjacent to it. And this is called Grant Howald Park. This is Irvine Terrace Park, and unless you live in Irvine Terrace, you might not know about it. I remember when my grandkids were little, of course, they loved to go to a park. And what was really fun, though, was to go to a different park with a different kind of playground. And this one has, even though it's probably closed right now, it won't be for very long, hopefully. It has a great playground. It's got a little climbing wall. It's got a couple of slides that are like corkscrews and that are covered, climbing bars. So it's wonderful for children. But even if they can't use the playground, as you can see, it's quite a large field. They use it during the season for soccer. But wonderful to play in. It's fenced. It's got nice fence to sort of, again, restrain the children from getting into the street. Plenty of room if you want to walk a dog. If you just want to take some exercise, it's got nice paved path around it. You could take several several paths around it. It's got a restroom, which is always nice when you've got children because you never know when you need it, or even as an adult. Water, drinking fountains and everything. So, Irvine Terrace Park. Also, very nice for throwing a frisbee, maybe picking up pickup game of soccer. Not too easy to find, but you can get it on the map for Newport Beach. This is my favorite park in the city. Of course, probably because it's almost next door. But what I like about it is I think it has, in some ways, more variety than any of the other parks that we have. This is Carnation right here, and Bayside Drive is down there. This part of it, Begonia Park, has a children's area. It has a little barbecue area with tables. But then if you go up here on the bluff at the foot of Begonia, you're going to have a view of the harbor that's wonderful. You can see all of the ocean and all the harbor. So you get a little bit of that. You walk up. It's a lovely, easy walk. So you can bring the children. You can play up there if you want to and have a great view, or you can come down here, have a little cookout and a picnic with the kids, and then they can go and play on the playground equipment. There's a water fountain. That's about the only other amenity. No bathrooms here, but a lot of variety. And wait till you see the other part, which is, again, my very favorite, Bayside Park. This is Bayside Drive Park, and to me, it is actually the prettiest park in the city. And I know that sounds odd because it's so narrow and you've got the fairly busy street right beside it. But it just shows what you can do with a little space. It's narrow, it's long, but it's so pretty. So many trees, and winding through this area. At the one end, you've got another play area for kids with a sand area and swings. And then you've got the footbridge, which of course is iconic in Corona del Mar. It makes a lovely walk with dogs or just with friends. So the thing I like most about it, I said, is that it shows you what you can do with a little space. And I think if we could be as creative with other small spaces in our city, we would have even more pleasurable areas where we could be outdoors during this difficult time. We're here on Ocean Boulevard in Corona del Mar, and that's hardly a secret place. But one reason it's so popular is just because of the wonderful view you have. I appreciate the boardwalk in Balboa, but you're looking out at sand and water. Here you're looking out at a tremendous variety. At one end you've got the harbor, the whole view of the harbor. You've got Catalina. And then you've got all these wonderful rocky areas. You've got Big Corona. Then you can look all the way down past Laguna and see all the wonderful formations there, the cliffs and the coastal bluffs. At sunset, this is just a fabulous view. You've got the beautiful sunsets over Catalina. And then you've got all these grassy areas where you see more people just spread a blanket to enjoy the sunset, or at times they've watched this is a great place to view the start of the Ensenada race and other things like that. So don't forget, when you're looking for places to walk, don't forget Ocean Boulevard. Well, that's our show. I hope you enjoyed it. Let's all stay safe. And until next time, let's all work on making our village green.